What's good, everybody? It's your boy, the Boy, back with another video. Today, I'm talking about the most important player for each team left in the Sweet 16. Now, I did X Factors for the number one seeds, and some of the number two seeds. Didn't get to finish that, but all of these will be done in this video. And for me, most important doesn't always necessarily mean best. And it also doesn't necessarily mean the X factor of a team. I think there's a difference between X factor and importance sometimes. Sometimes the X factor is the most important. Sometimes the most important player is the best player. And we'll get to that as we go along with each team. There's 16 teams. We're going to get to those. Not going to take up too much time. So yeah, let's get into it. Virginia. Kamora Johnson. I think for some of these teams it'll be obvious. Some of the teams it won't. You know, some teams it'll be multiple different players. And I think for Virginia it could be multiple players too. I think Paris Clark has a big case to be that as well. And I would even say Samaya Smith, with the way that she's been dominant on the rebounds and things like that, and the presence that she's able to bring inside in the post. So, but I would still say Kamora Johnson. Obviously, she is the engine of this team. She is the leader in points, assists, and steals. She's been the big shot maker and taker. She had 2 huge shots against Iowa to put them ahead, both in overtime and in regulation. So we're going to give her that due credit, that due justice of, if she plays at a phenomenal level, the team has a chance to win. Obviously, other players will also need to step up, but it starts and ends with Kamora Johnson. Their chances at an upset over TCU start and end with Kamora Johnson. You obviously want her to start better than she did against Iowa. You want her to be efficient. But if she's able to get her shot falling and she gets confident, her getting confident makes every other player around her confident. And when she's confident, then Paris Clark is confident. And when both of those guards are back there confident, you've seen what can happen. They just took down Iowa in Iowa. You know, anything can happen. It's March. I'm gonna keep saying it, but it's true. March is weird. March is different. For Texas, I know some people are gonna think Madison Booker, and you may not necessarily be wrong in that. I think it's Rory Harmon. I think Rory Harmon is the most important player on Texas's team. I think the way that she's able to be the head of the snake both on offense and defense, in terms of being the player that guards 94 feet, that hounds the other guard, hounds the other team's best perimeter player. Also is the offensive engine in terms of leading the team in assists, and when need be, is able to knock down the occasional mid-range jumper. Now, she's shooting 46% from 3 this year. That's on 24 threes. She's 11 to 24. Now, it's not phenomenal volume, obviously, but you gotta take it for what it's due. You know, you gotta give her the credit for making shots that she's taking. So, I wouldn't say you need to guard her like she's a 46% shooter or a 3-point shooter, but you can't guard her like she's a 23% or a 3-point shooter. So, which is crazy considering Ashton Judd is more of the shooter and she's shooting 23% from 3. But that's neither here nor there. Rory Harmon is the most important player, similar to the way that I say about Raven Johnson for South Carolina, is when your point guard, and not only when it's your point guard, when your point guard is a two-way maestro, able to be the floor general on offense and be the stopper on defense on the perimeter, it opens the door for so many different things. And when she's able to be aggressive and she's shooting the ball well, she doesn't have, I'm not saying go out there and get 18 to 20 points, but if she's getting 14 to 16 points efficiently, it just gives them a completely different option offensively. Obviously, you know what Madison Booker's going to do offensively. Jordan Lee has been super consistent this year. Kyla Oldacre in the post is always an option. And then you have players like Justice Carlton and Leah Crump who have stepped out throughout the year, and Bray Cunningham as well. So it's not like they don't have options offensively, but when they have Rory Harmon as an option, that makes them one of the best teams in the country. I think for Texas to be at their best, the players that they would need to play well, obviously you want Madison Booker to play well, but the players they would need to play at their best would be Aaliyah Crump, Rory Harmon, and Jordan Lee. I think those three players play at their best. They can compete with anybody. They compete with UConn, UCLA, South Carolina, LSU, which they've beaten 3 of those teams. So it's not to say that, obviously they can compete with those teams. Michigan. Silas Swords. I'm going to say Silas Swords. She's averaging 14 points a game this year, 41% from the floor, 34% from 3. I think the field goal percentage is down from last year slightly. She went from 43% to 41%. So it's not a crazy number. And again, context matters when it comes to field goal percentage. I think the shots that they need, like the shots that Michigan needs them to take, and when I say them, I mean Olivia Olson and Silas Swords. It's hard to be super efficient, and she's a better three-point shooter than Olivia Olson is, so she shoots a little bit further out too. But she shoots 34% from 3, so you obviously have to respect that as well. But she's a very versatile player. She can defend at a high level. I just feel like if Silas Swords, like the Silas Swords that we saw against UConn, the Silas Swords that we saw last season, and I want to say it was her first game ever in college at least, against South Carolina, we get that Silas Swords, Michigan can go to a Final Four. Like, that's how good Michigan is if Silas Swords is at her best, because I have, and I'm not to say that I don't have faith in Silas Swords, but I have faith that Olivia Olson is going to be Olivia Olson. I think Mila Holloway is one of those players that feeds off of other players playing really well. So if Olivia Olson and Silas Swords are both playing really well, I think Mila Holloway gets another jolt offensively, especially from that three-point line. And then Ashley Sofo-Can is probably the second most important player because of the role that she plays and is going to have to play in the post against whoever they continue. Like, if they win this game and continue to move on, she's going to be a very, very key and vital piece to what this team is able to do. Obviously, she has help with Tayala Delphos, Brooke Close-Daniels, Kendall Dudley, but she's really the only real solidified post player that can battle out with the players like McKinley Randolph, Laura Ziegler. So it's going to be interesting to see how they continue or how they combat that in the Sweet 16 game. UConn, AZ Fudd. Now, if you remember, my X factors for them were Adley Zabel and Kaylee Heckel. I still believe that, but the most important player for UConn, AZ Fudd. Sarah Strong is Sarah Strong. She's the best player in the country. She's gonna play like that every single game. I haven't seen her not play like that in a game yet. If she didn't have her offensive game going, she was still elite defensively, and she was still elite being a playmaker from her position. So Sarah Strong is Sarah Strong, and that's not saying that AZ Fudd is not AZ Fudd, because she is. But when AZ Fudd is playing like she did against Syracuse, this team cannot be beat. Simple as that. If you have Sarah Strong able to drop 25, 9, 5, 4, and 3, and you have AZ Fudd who can go 30 for a 30 ball with 6 to 8 threes made, I don't know how you stop that. And we saw it last year. Paige didn't even have to play phenomenally in the national championship game, and AZ Fudd stepped up. In the Final Four game, Paige didn't have to play phenomenally. Sarah Strong stepped up. So both of those players were able to step up when they had more talent. So now they are the top 2 players. I would be very shocked if both of those players aren't the ones to step up time and time again. I'm looking at Blanca too. Blanca is very important, especially once they get further down in the tournament and teams are going to try to take away Sarah and AZ as much as possible. Players like Blanca, KK Arnold, Ashlyn Shade, Adley Zabel, Kaylee Heckel are going to be forced to make plays, and they're going to have to make those. Obviously, AZ Fudd and Sarah Strong are good enough to play or to still contribute while teams are trying to take them away. But you still need those other players to knock down shots and to make plays offensively and defensively. It would be easy to say Michaela Blakes, but I think I'm going to say Aubrey Galvin. I think when Aubrey Galvin is playing at her best, this is a team that can go to a Final Four. I don't want to say Final Four because they'd have to play UConn Elite Eight. But I will say this: if Michaela Blakes has played like Michaela Blakes has played in the big games of her first few years of her career, and Aubrey Galvin has a big game like she did against, who was it? Was it Oklahoma that they combined up for over 50 points? If she plays like that, or maybe it was the Texas game, I think. Maybe it was both. But if she plays like that, things get interesting because then that opens the door for Justine Passat to get more open threes. That opens the door for Sasha Washington and Winatanda to get offensive rebounds and get out in transition. When Aubrey Galvin is playing really, really well, the team is electric. They can get out in transition. They can make plays. The shots that she's able to make, incredible, especially under the rim. So she had a few crazy layups against Texas. So, I mean, obviously Michaela Blakes is the best player on the team, and you need her to get her 25-ish points per game. She averages 27. But Aubrey Galvin, if you can get her to be efficient from both the floor and from three and play really well, you're in really good position. North Carolina, Alina Arnasalo, if she's able to shoot the ball well, not turn the ball over, and that's easier said than done against a UConn team. But if she's able to do those things, it puts them in a better position, both offensively and defensively, to try to slow down UConn as much as possible. Obviously, easier said than done. But if their defense can keep the game close enough, Alina Arnasalo is good enough on both ends of the floor, or is good enough on the offensive end to be that steady hand with the ball in her hands, whether it's time for her to score, time for her to make a play. And I think Lainey Grant is up there too because, I mean, obviously both of them just had really good games. But if Lainey Grant, both of them shoot 40+% from three, if both of them are shooting the three ball at a really solid clip, which they didn't even have to do against Maryland, but if they're doing that in this game, again, it's March. Weird things happen. It was probably the most difficult team to choose from, being that they're just so balanced and you just never know who's going to be that leading scorer from game to game. I mean, they don't have a player that averages more than 11 points per game. So it's hard to say, like, oh, this is a player. And it's not, again, points per game doesn't make you the most important player. But I think I said I would have said that their X factor is Amari Berry. They just won a really close game in the round of 32 when she only scored 5 points. That's not to say that, they can win with her doing that multiple times, or that she's not the X factor because they won a game where she didn't play well. That's not how that works either. I would say Tajana Roberts. I think her just being a floor general, not turning the ball over, being efficient helps them a lot. Obviously, you need her to shoot better than 39% from the floor, but she shoots 35% from three. So it's a give and take there. Obviously, you could say Laura Ziegler as well. Like, if Laura Ziegler is playing really well, I think she's like one of the barometers for them. But it's really hard to tell because Istanbululu just had 18 points. McKinley Randolph had 20 points and 11 rebounds the game before that. So it's hard to know like what player is going to be the best each game, and sometimes that helps. So we'll see if that helps them in the Sweet 16 against Michigan, because it's hard to scout for a team like that. LSU. This is a good one. I'm going to say Michaela Williams. I normally lead towards Flau'jae, but I'm going to say Michaela Williams because Michaela Williams, I think, out of the three of Malaysia and Flau'jae, puts together everything offensively the best. Like, she's able to be the best scorer on the floor, but she's also able to be the best playmaker on the floor at the same time, and that's very difficult to do. Obviously, Jada Rashard is out there, and she's a really good point guard as well. But between the three of Flau'jae, Malaysia, and Michaela, I think Michaela Williams is the best point guard that's out there, and she's probably the best scorer out of the three, I would say, too. So that just gives her another edge, and I think when she plays well, she just gives the team a different look. Like, she's probably, like, her shot making makes her the most difficult to guard out of the bunch as well. Like, Malaysia is super fast and is able to do things that you damn near have never seen on the court before, but sometimes the unpredictability can hurt her herself. And Flau'jae is she's more fundamental with the way that she plays, and that's not a bad thing at all. I love players that are fundamental, but I think her play, she's one of those players that plays more off of, I got the ball off the catch or off a closeout, or I'm bringing the ball in transition. Like, I don't think that's a player that you're like, all right, ISO, get a ball to Flau'jae. ISO, you get a ball to Michaela Williams. And as they get further and further in this tournament, potentially, the games are going to be closer and closer, and the player that you're going to want the ball in the hands of is Michaela Williams. It's simple as that. South Carolina, Raven Johnson. It's Raven Johnson. She's averaging 10 points, 5 assists this year. Less than 2 turnovers. She's doing 49%, or no, we'll round up 50% from the field, 40% from 3, and 83% from the free throw line. It was a great decision for her to come back, not just because, for her WNBA prospects and things like that, just for herself, really. I think this was a good year for both her and Rory to come back. We're another year removed from the injuries and just play her game, be herself, and feel more confident heading into the pros, whether it's in the WNBA, whether it's overseas, wherever, feeling good about what you were able to do in your collegiate career as well, and helping your program helping take a program to another level. And like I said with Rory, when Raven Johnson plays well, South Carolina is almost unbeatable. You could also say Joyce Edwards. You could also say Tessa Johnson, I believe. Because Tessa Johnson, in big games, almost always steps up and plays really well. And Joyce Edwards has had maybe 1 or 2 bad games. I don't want to say bad games, but 1 or 2 games that weren't up to expectation for her. And at least one of those they lost. So we've seen when Joyce Edwards plays really well, it's hard for you to beat them as well. But I think Raven Johnson, similar to what I said about Rory Harmon, is that engine on both sides of the floor. And I think when she is playing at her best, she's diving on the floor for loose balls. She's running out of bounds, saving the ball, and hitting threes, hitting mid-range jumpers off the pick and roll, finding, Okot or McKeer on the fast break or whatever. Like, all those things, just like a Tessa Johnson 3 gets the crowd rolling. So does Raven Johnson finding a open player or finding a player for a shot. So I'm going to say Raven Johnson. Minnesota, Mara Braun. Now, I know Amaya Battle has been the best player for them in terms of the last 2 tournaments. The tournament last year in the Invitational, and this year so far in this tournament. I'm still going to go Mara Braun because Mara Braun doing what she did against Ole Miss gave them a chance, in my opinion. Her playing the way she did, as efficient as she did, gave them the best chance to win against Ole Miss. Obviously, Amaya Battle made some big plays. She hit the game-winning shot. That's not to take away any credit from her because I love Amaya Battle too. But I think if Mara Braun is able to go out and have a 20 to 25 point game that's efficient, it gives them the best chance to win because I believe that if Mara Braun is doing that, that opens the door for Amaya Battle to continue to play even better. That also opens the door for Tori McKinney. That also opens the door for Grace Koholski and Sophie Hart. It opens the door for all of them because Mara Braun is an absolute sniper from 3. So if she's shooting the 3 ball well, it's gonna cause the defense. Now, granted, it's UCLA's defense; they're normally pretty disciplined, but it's gonna cause that defense to take a step or 2 over a little bit more if she's coming off a screen, or if she's coming off a pin down, or she's coming off a dribble handoff. Maybe it's forcing Lauren Best to step out a little bit more, and it's opening the back door. It's opening the paint for them offensively. So I'm going to go Mara Braun. Kentucky, I'm going to go Claire Strack. They're playing Tennessee. They're playing Texas. Now, she's going up against Brea Cunningham. She's going up against Kyla Oldacre. She's going up against Justice Carlton. And in terms of skill, I think she wins the battle. She wins the matchup. In terms of height, she wins the matchup. In terms of physicality, the other players for Texas win that matchup. So it's going to be interesting to see whether she starts in more of a mid post, if she's straight in a low post. She's also really good defensively. So if she's able to negate some things defensively, I think that helps them as well. She leads the team in rebounds, points, steals, and blocks. I do think Tiani Key is also very important because of the versatility that she brings and the rebounding that she brings. They're going to need that against a Texas team that has post players that are sometimes just out there to rebound and be physical. So they have to make sure that they're rebounding the ball well. They're getting to loose balls, and all those different things. And I think Claire Strack offensively and defensively, but mostly offensively, is the key to them being able to slow the game down a little bit, get into the half court, play through Claire Strack. And it doesn't mean Claire Strack has to come down and get 30 points, but if she's able to kick out to a Tiana Key, who can kick out to a Tony Morgan or whatever the case may be, that gives them the best chance to win, in my opinion. Duke, most important player. They'll be playing LSU. Most important player. I'm between Toby Fournier and Delaney Thomas. Toby Fournier, similar to Claire Strack, is leading the team in points, rebounds, and blocks, and is just a force offensively and defensively. And I think she has a similar stature to Claire Strack versus how Maya Joyner is more physical than she would be, or at least in stature-wise. So it'll be interesting to see how they play that as well. But Delaney Thomas is one of those players that can guard multiple players, that can score very efficiently at the rim, and is really good in transition. So I think she's another player that I'm looking at of like, if she's able to do the small things that she normally does at a high level, it gives Duke just a little bit of an edge, in my opinion. For UCLA, I'm going to go Gianna Neepkins. I think these next what? So Sweet 16, Elite 8, Final Four, National Championship. Potentially the next 4 rounds are why Gianna Neepkins was brought to UCLA. It's why South Carolina wanted her. It's why a bunch of teams wanted her. Gianna Neepkins can solidify her name in college. What's the word I'm looking for? In college lore, with a phenomenal run these last couple of tournament games. If they're able to get to a national championship and win it, Gianna Neepkins has to be as good as she can be. Gianna Neepkins is one of the best players in the country. She just is on a team that's stacked and is playing a role because that's the kind of player that she is. That's the kind of person that she is. But if Gianna Neepkins, there's almost a bunch of different places she could have gone. She's averaging over 20 points a game, super efficient. So for her to be a 4th option, technically, in terms of scoring and shots, shot output and things like that, I'm just saying, we know what Kiki Rice can do. We know what Gabriella Jaquez has been doing this year. We know what Lauren Betts can do. We also know what Gianna Neepkins can do, but we don't know what she can do with this team in this situation. And if she's able to take it to the level that she's capable of being at, they're going to a national championship. TCU, I'm going to go Clara Silva. I think Clara Silva they're playing against Virginia, playing against Amanze and Samaya Smith and even Caitlin Weimar is going to be really important because, again, she's a even smaller frame than Clara Strack, and I think she has the ability to really change some things, especially with the way that she can run the floor and the way that she's able to score in the low post, the way that she has, or like her footwork and things like that. But it's going to be difficult because of the size and the amount of front court players that Virginia has. But I think someone like Marcia Suarez can help her take some of that away because they're going to have to put another post player on her, and that might open the door for Clara Silva to have more space down in the post. So I'm still going to go her. Obviously, Olivia Miles is their best player. Marcia Suarez is their second best scorer. But I think Clara Silva has the ability, both with the rebounding, with the shot blocking, and with the ability to score in the post, can give them an even bigger edge against a Virginia team that, made an upset to get here. Or made a few upsets to get here, I guess. Oklahoma. Same way I said for Gianna Neepkins is the same thing I'm going to say for Peyton Verhulst. Peyton Verhulst could be on a couple of different teams. I don't want to say she could probably average 20 on a few teams. She could have way better numbers than she has, but she's able to fit into a role, buy into a role, and be a leader for her team, be a super versatile player that can do everything on the team, whether it be guarding one of the best players, going out and being one of the best scorers that night, being the playmaker that night. She can do all those different things. If Oklahoma wants to make an upset of South Carolina and even push past that, it comes down to Peyton Verhulst. Yes, you need Leah Chavez to be efficient. You need Reagan Beers to be dominant. You need Sahara Williams to do all the things that she does as a Swiss Army knife. But you need Peyton Verhulst to be her best. If Peyton Verhulst plays an A-plus Peyton Verhulst game, they win. They win. That's how valuable she can be to this team, and that she can be to a team. Is she can be that barometer. She can be that player that flips whether they win or lose. So those are the most important players of the Sweet 16 teams for me. If you disagree, that's okay. Let me know in the comments who you feel like are the most important players for each team, and let me know if you want to see this. Well, you don't need to see this in Elite 8 because most of the teams will still be there and it'll still be the same. But let me know who you have winning these Sweet 16 games. Who do you have being in the Elite 8? Who do you have being in the Final Four? Has it changed since the beginning of the tournament? Has it changed since the beginning of the season? Maybe I should do that. Maybe I should go look at the beginning of the season, see what my Sweet 16 looked like versus this one. But I appreciate you guys for watching. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, and come back for the next videos.